I'm in the bitching too, because I mean, tell me something that I don't already know about myself, and that's why.
Okay, well, I mean, look, the thing about that whole experience recently. Hello, I'm host Eric. I'm host Talking Famous People. I'm here with Rachel. We're chatting about the recently ended experience of dealing with the sunny side, which is an astrology guy who gives readings on live streams, I guess.
Yeah.
You have to pay for them, but anyway, as I documented in a video that I uploaded as she was still listening to this guy's reading of her, I was most unjustly and unfairly hidden from the channel, not even timed out,
Hidden.
and I didn't do anything. Like, I mean, I was, if anything, I was on good behavior. But I guess my good behavior doesn't seem like good behavior to this guy. I don't know.
We were joking about how my chart is yards and squares.
Right. This is the comment that got me hidden, okay? It was, apparently my chart is quite shiny. I put it in scare quotes, which was intended to indicate I'm not an expert on this stuff. So, but I've heard from people that I've got a lucky or good astrology chart or whatever. That's what I was trying to indicate. I wasn't trying to troll or anything. And then I said, and apparently Rachel's chart is full of yards and squares. That's all I fucking said.
They took it as mean.
And the sunny side, interesting name,
right?
Proceeded to immediately hide me and then be really smug and douchey about how if I want to come back, you're welcome to. You just need to change my name, my username, and of course I'm likely to get hidden again.
Oh my god.
I mean, how can you conclude I'm likely to get hidden again when you can't even explain why you hid me in the first place? I have no interest in doing so. I mean, talk about irresponsible. It's incredibly irresponsible to public discourse to engage in a public communication like that and have a completely arbitrary, unjustified approach towards inclusion in the conversation.
I felt so bad. I felt terrible.
Please don't feel bad on my behalf.
No, I mean,
I love that shit like that happens because it's something for me to pontificate about.
Well, look, I gotta be honest. Like, I have had my I haven't followed that channel in a very long time because the guy's name is Sunny, right? And they call it the sunny side, but he can be very sarcastic, and I find sarcasm sometimes to be actually pretty mean. So I was like, you're promoting positivity, but you're kind of being a bully.
Well, I mean, the other thing is his positivism expresses as categorical rejection of anything he deems as not adequately positive, I guess.
Yes.
Now, I wasn't being negative at all. I want to repeat this and stress this over and over again. I said and did absolutely nothing that would justify hiding me from that channel. Nothing. Except my take on it is he got the read that I was a TI user and he's probably an ENFP.
That's what I was thinking.
And he just was like, nope, I refuse to engage on any kind of logical metric. I wasn't going to try to engage him logically. It's astrology, for God's sake. You don't engage magical thinking frameworks logically. But, he could just probably tell that were to get down to it in any sort of verbal engagement, I'd trash his ass. I had no intention of doing any such thing, but he could probably just sort of tell. And as a consequence, just hid me from the channel immediately. I would call that bad live stream ethics, unethical live streaming. You have to have some sort of responsibility to the people who are engaging with you.
Yeah.
Like at least to apply burdens and expectations and rules and stuff evenly and fairly, not have a double standard, not have a completely arbitrary standard.
And then people started in the chat started judging me for being with you, and I was like, that's totally not fair. Are you kidding me? I'm here because I wanted to get my a little mini astro read. That's it. I wanted to say hi to some people, maybe have some laughs, because some people in there are funny. Sometimes it's funny, but instead I had to wait pretty much.
Oh, I love this. Hey, if you're not patient enough, Rachel, I'll put it at the end and you'll have to wait till the very end for it.
Yeah.
Aren't you a client? Didn't you pay him something for that?
I paid him $25 for it.
Okay, so listen, at that point, that's the problem with FI tool function, right? It's like, it's patently unethical.
Well, that's a good advantage. You could watch it too. Anyone who's interested in.
The only reason this guy is so sunny is because he takes out his Luger and shoots everything that's not sunny in the head.
Exactly.
That's not a meaningful approach to life.
No, it's not.
He needs to hold himself accountable, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah, I couldn't believe he was going to put me last because I asked for my.
I know, because you asked for what you paid for, you have to wait extra long time. That's his threat. Can you imagine if that happened at McDonald's? You go, hey, my number was 19. You're already on 24. I still haven't got my food. Oh, if you want to complain about it, you want to wait till 80?
Imagine.
I mean, can you imagine, right? Or if somebody pays me a iPhone and then I show up like 15 minutes late and they go, you're pretty late, and I'm like, hey, you got a problem with it? You want I can tell you tomorrow instead? No, you wouldn't ever do that. Professional and unethical. The person paid you, they have a policy to participate the thing they paid for. So now officially the recipient of 1 foot up the rectum. And I'm going to make sure that he gets this link somehow on his site and on his stream so that he has a chance to turn it on for 1 second and turn it off and run away in terror because he can't possibly stand to hear any honest, legitimate critique of his patently unacceptable bullshit.
I stand by
you. And then also worth noting, I'm pretty sure, I didn't stick around and listen to the whole reading or anything, but I'm pretty sure once he determined that I was her boyfriend, that the reading became much more negative about her love life. So that's
he was like, you're gonna be with addicts and stuff, and like he was like, you maybe have problems with addictions. Like I wanted to be like, I don't smoke cigarettes and
no, the best answer to that is actually I'm incredibly healthy and sustainable in my drug and alcohol usage.
Yeah.
It works well for me.
Yeah.
Don't allow them to put you on the defensive. Actually, I'm concerned that your position on this is indication that you're not probably very complete. You don't understand very well.
And I know he's like a basic astrologer now too, because like he didn't tell me anything that I haven't heard before. That's why I went there, like, because he like claims to be this like expert on astrology, and all he did was tell me everything that I've heard from everyone.
Okay, well, but listen.
A lucky aspect, and I'm being unlucky in love. Like, thanks for showing.
But remember this, Rachel, that he was trying to do that reading with my foot already partially up his ass, and he knew it. So he may have been somewhat hampered by my foot and ass. Some people, my foot up their butt makes them so uncomfortable that they double down on their wrongness, like perhaps the Sunnyside did. Yeah. I don't want to be ever accused, again, successfully, of deserving a warning or a strike for bullying. So I'm going to avoid any, litany of well-deserved name callings. But suffice it to say, this is why people need to use something other than just their own feelings when making determinations about stuff. Even if you are FI tool, fine, use FI tool. There's lots of things in life where it's appropriate. But even where it's appropriate, try at least a little bit to validate on a universal metric, or else you're just going to be like this guy. A caricature of wisdom. The exact opposite of real wisdom. As a caricature of wisdom, he's about perceptual display, affect, the 6 slot FE, of being perceived as having knowledge, wisdom, or whatever. But the problem is that because he cannot engage honestly with people, as is required to use at least a little bit of TI, you have to be at least a little bit honest. FI doesn't require any honesty, fundamentally. but because he refuses to engage at least a little bit of TI, so he can be a little bit honest, he's got this imaginary playland that he's walking around in, right? Where everything's sunny and bright, because after all, he just shoots in the head everything that's not immediately without even giving it a second glance, and assumes his intuition about it is right. And as we learned in the stream earlier, his intuition about me was catastrophically wrong and bought him this well-deserved and well-articulated correction that he will never watch, not because it's somehow unfair, uncogent, or not worth watching, but because he's terrified of growth. Yeah. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so quick to eliminate everything that challenges his paradigm. That's the only explanation. And I didn't even challenge his fucking paradigm. But I'm happy he did it. I'm happy this happened because, you know, I like when people earn the natural consequences of their own bad behavior, and that's what he's doing right now.
I'm happy too because I used to be the only person who I was the troll at one point. Not even joking. Like, I remember I was trying to make some jokes on there about like, right. I don't even know what. And it was like I was blocked, and I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me? Like, you literally like."
If what I did justifies, yeah, she did get her reading. She did. In fact, he spent quite a bit of time on it.
Yeah,
so I cannot in any way, shape, or form critique him for failing to deliver what he said he was going to deliver. He did. But what I'm saying is, he also delivered a couple of extra packages I had no idea were even considered being ordered. And unfortunately, it's those packages he delivered that is resultant in his earning his well-deserved natural consequences. In particular, my heavily booted foot shoved as far as possible up into his rectum. Now, I will say this, though, more. It seemed to me, and Rachel confirms it seemed to her as well, that his reading was influenced negatively about her love life once he realized that I was her boyfriend. Yeah. So, I mean, again, if you're FI tool, you can't help yourself. You cannot be objective when your emotions kick in. And this guy probably had a sense of fear, like, must ban from the channel completely because I do not want to get into it with this guy. Not that I wanted to get into it with him, but so once you get a little fear in the mix, then his emotions really kick in, and it's impacting his ability to even be objective about the largely subjective and entirely magical, anyway, frame of astrology.
He always brags about being a Freemason.
He bragged about being a Freemason?
Yeah.
I mean, the thing about Freemasons is everybody talks about Freemasons like it's a big deal. But I would like to point out it's exactly the same thing as the Lions or the Shriners or any of those other things, right? But only Masonry has this weird association with like a cult or whatever. Well, you know, look, Morge, I will say this. Rachel's indicated that he said basically the same thing most quote unquote competent, knowledgeable astrologers have said about her chart, which is that there's indications in there that she's destined for things of substantialness or, you know, important stuff or whatever, but that she's destined to be unlucky in love. Well, I mean, as I said to Rachel when she told this to me, I said, but your love life's great. We're great.
Yeah.
And she goes, I know. So it's like, I think that Rachel doesn't like it when NI stuff goes against her SI experience because that creates something you got to reconcile then.
It was just bogus. It was just bogus. I was like, now my reading's affected by the fact that he knows that Eric is my boyfriend. Who gives a fuck? I wanted something like...
And again, I did nothing. I didn't do anything.
He didn't do anything. He brought up a joke that we have about astrology.
Right. I was trying to fit in with that community and engage about astrology, right?
Yeah.
And when I say I didn't do anything, it's not like I'm being mischievous and going, I know I did something, but I did it in a way that I can't be held accountable because of the words I said. I really knew I was textually doing this, but I said it this way, so I can't be called out on. None of that at all. I was legitimately trying to be pleasant and fit in with the community, and just insta-banned. So, I don't know what to say about that, except this is why when we're talking about community stuff and communication kind of stuff, that we need to try to be objectively self-critical, that we don't just indulge ourselves in our impulsive wrongnesses and lack of consideration. It's unethical to hold a public discourse and refuse to include legitimate voices who dissent. I mean, granted, it's unethical in a positive, prescriptive fashion, not in a negative one. He's not violating any rights. He's totally within his rights, and he's not guilty of any boundary trespass. But that's why I say it's an ethics matter, not a morality matter. There's an implicit ethics in engaging in the marketplace of ideas. If you open a stand in the marketplace of ideas, you better be able to make change.
Yeah, I was excited. Whatever. His color showed. That's why I stopped with the notifications on the bell ring with his stuff, because I found him to contradict himself a lot of times, to be like, here we're all about positivity and stuff, but then he would be bragging or making fun of someone for something, and I'm like, what? That's not funny. And then also, I've been on Eric's side of the fence too, where I would talk astrology because I'm fairly knowledgeable in it. I have over 10 years experience studying it, so I know a lot. And I would try to be like, oh yeah, a moon Aquarius is like this, and they're they deleted my comment because it was a judgment on a moon sign, and I was like,
oh, no wonder he probably this explains why he has the same number of participants in the live stream as I do, although he had about twice as many as I do now. Okay, more or less, a little bit less, probably around 15 to 18. So the thing is, he has 70 subscribers though, so he should have 10 times as many people as I have around here. I'm guessing the problem is he bans 9 out of every 10 people.
Yeah, he said it happens all the time.
If that is the standard by which he bans people, then he bans almost everybody for almost anything. Of course, it's not a standard. It's an arbitrary impulse. This is what happens when you are meaning driven, NEDOM, but not objectivity driven, FI tool. He makes a lot of big meanings, and it doesn't matter whether they validate at all, on any level. In fact, the idea that you ask him to validate on any level will probably result in immediate banning.
I had a reading with him before, actually. It was probably a year and 2 months ago that I got a reading from him, and it was really interesting. He didn't just look at my sun and moon and that's easy stuff. He looked at different aspects, and then with this one I was just oh no, his feelings are hurt. I know exactly what's gonna happen. He knows that Eric is my boyfriend, and he's gonna put his emotions into the reading, and he's gonna be negative.
Again, remember, I did nothing to hurt this guy's feelings or attack him at all.
No, he didn't.
Not a goddamn thing.
I could legit vouch for Eric. He did not say anything.
I had no opportunity to even say, hey, what the hell, or engage him about why I was being punished or anything, because I was banned instantly.
He was banned.
And then I proceeded to listen to the guy pontificate about this matter as though I had made a bunch of objections, which I was not able to do.
And then people went to the channel and to the TWFP channel and started to be like, he's your boyfriend, making judgments about my love life, based on what happened in the chat in the sunny side, and I was like, I'm not listening to any of your stuff, and I didn't, and I didn't react. Like, you want to make those judgments? Fine, you don't know me. I know ESFPs say that, but like, honestly, like, they don't know me.
Yeah, he takes it all so serious. He's got 70,000 subscribers.
Serious. He's very serious.
70,000, right? But what Rachel's pointing out here is the rank hypocrisy that inevitably festers in an environment where people are rejecting legitimate critique. And again, I didn't even offer any critique.
There was no critique.
I had no critique at all. But I'm telling you, if I got banned for absolutely nothing, then even the slightest legitimate critique will get you banned.
It was like he thought that he was like protecting me somehow or whatever. And I'm like, I don't need that protection. I'm not here for that shit. I'm here to get my astrology chart read.
Right. And in fact, she got mad at me because I was going like, hey, what the hell, when she wanted her chart read, which I totally respect. So I went outside and made a little video about it.
Yeah, right? It was great. And the video was great.
And then when I came back from getting cigarettes, Rich and I started talking about it again, and I just like, that's it. I got a live stream about this matter because my core thesis here is this. This is an indication of where positive moral indications are important too. So the guy is absolutely within his rights. He's guilty of no morally impermissible act. He's guilty of no boundary trespass because that's his boundaries, his rules. Fine, I get that. But what I'm saying is that we can nevertheless and should nevertheless critique him on an ethics ground. He's being fundamentally dishonest. Mm-hmm. He's banning people, which is an indication fundamentally that they've done something wrong.
Right.
But he's doing it for no reason whatsoever and refusing to offer any justification for it. Since this is fundamentally, regardless of boundaries and stuff like that, a public discourse space, he has the power, is empowered to limit his however he wants, but there's an ethics beyond your minimum level of responsibility. He meets his minimum level of responsibility from a negative moral perspective, but he, in my mind, utterly fails to meet his positive ethical responsibility to be to be a participant, a good participant, a positive influence, a sunny side of the marketplace of ideas. In other words, be able and willing to learn and grow and share information back and forth with people, right? He's not at all, as far as I can tell, based on just that, what he did and the way he talked about it afterwards. He is not interested at all in anything that asks him to let go of his subjective interested calculation tool. And you might say, make the same critique of me, right? You might say the same thing about me. Eric, you don't even want to let go of your TI ever. Fine. My critique here, though, is given the context, it is fair of me to say he's failed to meet a positive moral indication and that he's engaged in unethical behavior. Because in this context, namely discourse with people in the public space, TI is a fundamental value. Mm-hmm. It means what it means. I don't think of myself as God and you as bug. I think of us both as the same. Yeah. Which means we both get to use the same kind of arguments, etc. It's anti-democratic, it's anti-egalitarian, it's imperious and arbitrary, and like a toddler. And he's not about eggs. He has nothing to do with eggs. Yes, we're not raging. I'm not raging. I'm putting him in his goddamn place.
Well, and then after the whole thing happened, he was unable to be impartial about the astrology reading.
And I want to stress this too. ENFPs around the world, I'm not blaming you, but police your own, please. Somebody else, one of you ENFPs out there, go talk to this guy. Say, look, you're making us look bad.
Can I have a sip of your soda?
Of course, darling. I'll go get another one. I'm sorry I didn't get you one.
It's all right. You jumped in. What'd you think? Okay, because I honestly used to watch his stuff last year, and like before that, I used to be like a pretty steady follower. And then like I found his jokes to excuse me. I found his jokes to be kind of mean sometimes, and a little bit like judgmental. So I took the bell off of notifications because like I really felt like he was like trying to be a positive person while having a lot of like negative ideas inside.
Trying to appear as a positive person in the sort of straining 6-slot FE way, right? Of ENFPs and ESFPs. ENFPs and ESFPs display a lot of FE, but they don't value it, which means they're not about being a team player at all, really. They're about appearing nice.
Yeah.
Well, Elijah, listen, you probably think that about astrology in general. I am not objecting to his knowledge as an astrologer, to what he says as an astrology reading, or anything of the sort. I'm objecting on ethical grounds to his insta-banning me for nothing. And I'm extrapolating from that and from what he said thereafter that he's clearly avoiding the thing that he needs more than anything else in the world, which is honest critique and natural consequences for his own wrongness or bad behavior. He's encouraging natural consequences right now. Namely, he did that to somebody who has a voice and is going to clearly voice that perspective and make clear what he did that was wrong and how he can correct himself in the future. Yeah. He has the misfortune of being meaning focused with his NE and definitive opposing with his FI. So he wants these meanings to be important, but he won't apply them fairly. He won't think about things fairly. He won't engage fairly about any kind of communication. Yeah. I think he's ENFP. I don't think he's ESFP. I think he's ENFP. His FE is much better than ESFP's. It's convincing to intuitive, sort of.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. There are ESFPs in the chat. It's not, the place is known for its drama. It seems chill. He does like say hello to everyone. He does say like we all have to be like nice to each other. Like niceness is important in the world. So we need to remember that. But he doesn't always practice what he preaches, and that contradictory nature made me not want to like get updates on his work because I felt that he wasn't serious about.
Okay, well, so practice what you preach. This is your 3rd slot TI value is showing here. Here's the deal. I'd be okay if he didn't practice what he preached, if he preached it accordingly. In other words, look, here's what I think ought to be. I know I deviate from this in the following ways. Here's why I nevertheless think it ought to be. And if you want to address why I deviate from it, even though it ought to be that way, that's a separate question. If he did that, then fine. Don't practice what you preach. Because you understand at least that you're not.
Yeah.
If you are obliviously plowing through life, knocking over everything that doesn't look like a person, then you're not just going to knock over objects, you're going to knock over plants and dogs and sheep and cattle and whatever. And lots of living things are going to be suffering just because and also lots of children, because you've only qualified people as things between 4 feet tall and 6 feet tall. You know, it's like, so basically he's like non-person, ban you, Eric, because why? Well, I seemed intuitive and perhaps irreverent. I didn't say or do anything that would justify any kind of behavior, but his intuition read me as potentially difficult. And, this is how intuition turns from a powerful tool for good to a powerful tool for evil.
Running Fox, I would say continue watching the channel for yourself. I mean, I was fooled for a while, and then the same thing happened to me. I was talking about like how much I love Aquarius people, right? Because I don't know, I do. So I was thinking, I'm like, this is an astrology place, I'll say something like that, and I got erased. My comment got deleted because I was saying that I liked a type more than any other type. And I was like, are you fucking serious?
I just need to clarify on my arguments here because there's some misconceptions about what I'm saying here. I'm not critiquing this guy because he's fake in some sense. I'm not saying I'm not critiquing his astrology knowledge or his presentation of astrology information at all. Okay, so let me stress that. That's number one thing.
That's not the
That's
issue.
not the problem. I am not also critiquing it on the grounds that he violated anybody's rights or trespassed against any boundaries. So Elijah says it's in his power to do that. I acknowledge that. And my point is not that he is engaged in morally impermissible behavior or an immoral behavior, but rather that he's engaged in an unethical behavior. Namely, he's failing to follow a positive indication he ought to fail, and that we cannot determine that with reducible finality. We just have to sort of know that intuitively. That's the difference as I'm using the terms right now, the difference between an ethical consideration and a moral consideration.
And then my intuition kicked in, and I'm like, oh no, like, I'm like, my reading's gonna go this way because he figured out that, like, Eric is my boyfriend. Why does that even because
matter? Again, remember, I gave him absolutely no reason to not like me or ban me or anything.
Seriously, it was so weird. And I literally was just as you were typing what you were saying, I was just about to say, yeah, it's a joke that we have between us because we talk astrology. And then I couldn't even get to that because he was banned. And then he was saying that he could make up a name and then come back.
Oh yeah, he went on this thing about, now listen, anyone's welcome back. You just need to start a new account with a new name and everything. First of all, I have my TWF Archives channel if I really wanted to go do that. But the thing is, the smug, patronizing tone combined with the complete lack of qualification for any smugness at all was just so appalling. I just had to start streaming about it. It's just like, okay.
I'm glad that you did, because I was like, that was not justified. It wasn't justified at all. He didn't even have a chance to defend himself.
We could call this video just, ENFP gone bad. What it looks like when ENFPs don't uphold their positive moral indication.
We're talking about the Sunnyside YouTube live stream where you can get tarot read, you can get mini astros, and like they talk like politics and stuff in astrology. So I used to watch it back in the day. I used to watch it a lot, like in 2018, like to like last year, probably around the spring. And then I was like, a lot of what he, like, I got banned for that comment for like saying that I like Aquarius is.
And was he ever held accountable for that? No. Until this moment, right?
Yeah.
So he bans her because she said something that had some sort of judgment to it, like, I like cheese better than cereal, right? Ban. Was he ever held accountable for that?
No.
And this is the problem. Is what is this guy's fundamental problem? His whole problem is not what he did to me, what he did to Rachel, whatever. It's this pattern of accountability avoidance. Whenever you avoid accountability, whenever you avoid critique, whenever you avoid being honest and hearing people and letting them have a chance to push back a bit, whenever you do that, you are destined to go ever further from actualization, or whatever you want to call it, and piss off Eric in the process. This is end up with size 12 boots deep up in their rectum against the bottom of their stomach lining.
I mean, for the $25, I at least got like a progression.
Oh, it was worth it. It was worth it.
Yeah.
I got he handed me on a silver platter. Here is a special invitation on special stationery inviting you cordially to shove your foot up my ass, Eric, and feel no guilt about it at all because I totally fucking deserve it. That's what he did. That's worth $25 any day. Serving the goodness, righteous, and truth department against accountability avoidance scoundrels like homie, and that's worth $25 any day.
And then like his like diehard lovers who have wrenches started talking about me and Eric, and I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, you're making fun of me right now. All I want is for my reading to be read. That's the only reason why I was there right then. So that I can...
Zayden Black says you might have a zero tolerance policy. Fine. Except I didn't even violate that.
No.
He must have a negative tolerance policy where it's like you have to normally, if there's not a reason to condemn a given act of speech, we accept that it's permissible, right? He seems to have the opposite and completely wrong approach that until somebody's established they will consistently speak in a way that he deems permissible, they're suspect. And talk about needing correction badly. This guy really needs correction badly.
Running Fox, they were like, is that your boyfriend? Like, I feel so bad for you. Like what a dick. Like, what does that guy think he's doing? Like, they were getting catty.
And we have two
pieces of data too. Because I was not going to take that bait.
We have two pieces of data too. I got banned for absolutely no reason whatsoever. So it could have violated no zero tolerance policy. So it makes little sense that Rachel somehow violated a legitimately articulated and consistently applied zero tolerance policy. Very, very unlikely, but possible. I'll concede that. Well, that's fine. I don't care if they don't even know us. The thing is, I don't care if you want to bash me or bash Rachel.
Yeah.
But let me respond. Unless I do something that's genuinely deserving of discursive timeout. If I engage some name calling or whatever, fine. That's my bad. I let my anger get away with me, and I deserve the punishment. Just as he deserves this punishment now.
Yeah.
He deserves it wholeheartedly because he's not willing to engage as a reasonable human being does about things of any sort that threaten his incredibly insulated worldview.
I mean, Eric was banned like right away too. It was not even like a warning, no timeout. It was banned. It was so weird.
Here's the thing. If he wants to time me out and talk shit about me during my timeout, fine. I'll have a list of things to say when I'm done with my timeout. But once he's banned me,
you can't say anything.
I mean, it's like, and if I had continually gotten myself timed out over and over again, continually crossed lines, and finally banned me, fine, I'd have nothing to say about it. But I mean, to take the approach he's taking, it's unethical because each of us has a moral agent, has a responsibility to take other moral agents seriously, or at least give them the opportunity to be taken seriously.
What do you think about what Felice Epinho says? Preemptive banned and preemptive shut down of potentially opposing discourse.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly what happened. But I wasn't even going to launch into opposing discourse. He just got the sense that I might. Now, he's right. He was right if I hadn't been there with Rachel. So, because I was there with Rachel, I was trying to be friendly with the community and fit in with Rachel. It was like Rachel's introducing me to her friends thing. But just being slightly irreverent turned me into an instant enemy.
It was instant. And it went so fast. At first, it was all highs and hellos. Yeah. Welcome to the group. And then as soon as you said anything about the astrology stuff, boom. Like, I couldn't even defend him. Literally before anything was said, I was going to be like, yeah, me and Eric joke about how most astrologers say that my chart is all squares and yods because that's the most thing. And guess what? Guess what he showed me?
Squares and yods?
Yeah, like exactly that.
But even in the worst interpretation of what I did, it would be the equivalent of somebody coming in here and going, hi, my function stack is NENITITE. And I'd just be like, you're either joking or you know nothing, one of the two. I was perfectly happy to concede to anybody there that I don't know anything about astrology. So if my jokes don't make a lot of sense, maybe it's because I just don't really know anything. I'm not opposed to it. I'm not here to hate on astrology. I'm not here to tell you to not listen to astrology. I just know a few astrology terms, and I like to make jokes because I'm an ENTP. It's like,
I need that laughter because if I took astrology so seriously, like, no, I've been down that road. It's not fun for me. And then I do get these readings where, like...
Well, he's not taking it seriously. If he were taking it seriously, this is the thing. Or put it this way. His engagement with people is not consistent with one who takes something seriously. But that doesn't necessarily mean you can't trust his astrology knowledge. I'm just saying that for people who do take things seriously, they don't avoid accountability in those things, typically.
Yeah.
So anyway, this is his accountability. It's good publicity for him. It's 40 plus minutes of me explaining why 2 minutes of malfeasance on the part of Sunnyside has resulted in a whole Foot Locker's worth of hiking boots having been shoved deep into his intestines. If he wants to complain about it, he needs to remember that he got down on his knees and begged me to do this by trying to play accountability avoidance guy. So, you know, he's got nothing to complain about. He needs to sit at home and go and listen to this whole video. If I had one wish, it would be I want Sunnyside to, for some reason, like turn on this video, walk back to his chair to sit down, and get an incredibly bad leg cramp that locks him in one position for the entire duration of this video, so he has to listen to every single goddamn word of it.
I don't know if he would, but he definitely has people who were watching because that's how they found out that you were my boyfriend, because they were looking at your stuff and they were like, "Oh, famous! He's so famous. Why? Like you just got so catty. I tune out that stuff."
No, talking with famous people, huh? Yeah, that's the name of my YouTube channel. You must think you're pretty hot shit.
Exactly.
Well, kind of, but it has nothing to do with famous people. Right? I guess you must think you're hot talking to famous people. I actually don't talk to famous people. Yeah, I do kind of think I'm hot shit in the sense that I at least am responsible, right? If being responsible, that's to say, allowing others to win when justice, truth, and goodness are on that side is just basic human decency.
His astrology's not bad. Like he's
most peaceful of which MBTI person? What's the most peaceful MBTI type? Probably INFP. I'd say they're the most peaceful. Yeah. The least likely to engage in a conflict. The most likely to say, "Hey, I know he's an awful dictator, but come on, there's no reason to not respect his feelings."
True.
You know, INFPs are most peaceful, most likely to stand up for people who don't deserve to be stood up for.
Yeah.
They may be angry at the world, but their SE polar guarantees they never really act on it. They're angry at people not getting what matters.
No, it just sucks.
Stop talking to me about what's fair. Listen, this is what's important. It's like, no, just shut up.
Oh my god.
Well, I mean, compared to this guy, right? Am I hot shit compared to this guy? Yeah, I'm incredibly hot shit compared to this guy because I don't engage in that kind of weak ass malfeasance-based behavior. So yeah, am I hot shit in some? I don't know how else you even define the term except in comparison to somebody specific, right? You're not hot shit in some sort of general sense. Yeah, I'm hot shit compared to you, but that guy's hot shit compared to me, depending on the circumstances, right?
I think you're hot.
If I'm on a basketball court playing and I'm playing against like a 6-year-old girl, I'm hot shit. Yeah. If I'm on a basketball court and I'm playing against LeBron James, I am not hot shit. I'm cold shit at that point. Now, it's interesting. I'm surprised by just how much better hot shit is than cold shit. Because, frankly, I don't think either temperature of shit is desirable.
No.
But society has deemed that hot shit is incredibly desirable.
Well, I think hot shit smells more.
You get all the meaty fragrance out of it, the meaty scent. Yeah.
Yep. I
want to come up with a signature fragrance, a line of fragrance called bison excrement. Ooh. And you'll have the bison urine flavored one, and the bison feces flavored one. For the really expensive one is bison semen, based on bison semen. And we're going to mix in a little bit of bird blood to make it air bison. And we're going to sell it to the Avatar people.
What's the most non-peaceful type asteroid one?
Oh, peaceful life. Which people have the most peaceful life among MBTI types?
To know, what's the most non-peaceful type?
No, but I'm saying
Sorry.
The most non-peaceful type? Possibly ENTP, possibly ESTP, possibly ESFP, but it's one of the
drama.
It's one of the action types. You could say it's ENFP even. Like there's nothing peaceful at all about Sunnyside. He is engaged in instant, constant warfare with everyone. And as long as he never has to see it, he can pretend that it doesn't exist. There's nothing peaceful about that. But a lot of people probably say he's an extremely peaceful guy.
Yeah, they do.
There's no conflict around here.
It's a facade, though.
It's the strategy of the village in Hot Fuzz, the movie Hot Fuzz.
Yeah, it is.
He's the villagers in Hot Fuzz.
Yes, he's the villagers in
Hot Fuzz. But we have the lowest crime rate in all of England and the highest accident rate. And just ignore the cognitive dissonance.
Yes, totally.
The least peaceful type might be ESTJ. I mean, look, it depends what you consider a peaceful life. So a peaceful life, I would say ESTJ has a much more peaceful life than ENTP. My dad's life is much more peaceful because he's constantly being able to anticipate what's coming next, right? He's like, he knows what he's going to do today and what order and what tasks he needs to complete. Which reminds me, I need to go talk to him about Wednesday. Cameron and I are going to go see my mom. Cameron set it up, actually.
Cool.
I'm going to go tell him. Can you hold down the fork for a minute?
Sure. White History Month. We have a lot of... I don't think we need a month for that. That's my opinion. Yeah, they are different. Running Fox, astrology readings is used with your birthday, your birth time, and your birthplace. Tarot readings incorporates astrology, but are visual pictures mostly using numbers and images to tell a story. So your birth chart tells a story too, but you need the coordinates of your birthday, birth time, and birthplace to create a birth chart. And there's ways of reading that depending on the angles that the planets are making while you were born. Why I get irritated when people ask a lot of questions to me. I only like talks which are very light on me. Little bit of harsh combos makes my angry nature out. Rachel, yeah, I was Eric got really angry because he was being silenced. And then this dude, Sunnyside, was telling me, I was telling them, I was like, I don't care. Can we just do this reading? I just want to get my astrology read. That's why I'm here. And then I was told by Sunnyside that because if I said that he would put me on last. And then Eric got angry about that too and went outside and then posted using his phone a video about Sunnyside. So I got really angry because I was like, this is ridiculous. I did not think this was going to happen, and I should have known better because I used to watch the Sunnyside a lot, and then I started getting banned for stuff. And I wasn't really even saying anything like mean or like what people may consider like toxic. I would just be like, I used capitals because I was like, hey, and I got like deleted because it's just they're very, very sensitive about their boundaries and what triggers them on the sunny side. So after they realized that Eric is my boyfriend, like they started to be like, why are you in this relationship with him? Like all this negative stuff. And I was just like, can we just like please read, like do the reading? And of course they like told me, he just like said stuff that I already like know. The thing that I got the most out of it was when he went to the when he went into the progressions, and then I found out more information that I didn't know. And we were able to like talk back and forth, and it was like worth it. But
let's see. My dad's taking a nap right now, so I wasn't able to talk to him. Let's see. White History Month. Is there a White History Month? I mean, White History Month is as imaginary as Black History Month. You walking on eggshells? Who's walking on eggshells? Are you peaceful, Rachel? How did you answer that question, Rachel? I'm curious.
Oh, I didn't answer. I didn't know it. I didn't see it. Am I peaceful? I think so. I'm a 7 though, so I have excitable energy.
I mean, Rachel's peaceful with peaceable people. But if you're not peaceable, then she's not peaceful.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. It's true. I'm not an ISFJ like that. An ISFJ can stay peaceful throughout that, I think.
Rather, Vicky says, I get irritated when people ask a lot of questions of me. They're pushing on your 8th slot. People get irritated when they're pushed on their 8th slot. I only like talks which are very light on me. A little bit of harsh conversation makes my angry nature come out. So for me, I don't like being pressured to act or leveraged in any sense. Good. SE, pushing on my 8th slot SE, I don't like that.
That's good.
And that's you're experiencing the equivalent with your TI.
Yeah.
Vicky. It's healthy to have your perception of the world and or ideas challenged. Properly or improperly. You got to learn to deal with both and distinguish between the two. I'm going to be challenged by all sorts of people with all different kinds of motivations and varying degrees of legitimacy in their challenge. I've got to be able to be adult enough to to go like, okay, I think this one's legit. I'm not always immediately intuitively sure as to whether somebody's motivated well or not. But because I'm bipolar, it doesn't matter to me really if they're motivated well. If their words are legitimate, that's all I need to know.
I'm definitely... Look, I mean, Raphael, you can say whatever you want. I don't agree with you. And I don't have to. And no one has to. And that's what you have to realize.
Well, Raphael, the other thing is we all are angry to some extent. Okay? Everybody's angry about something to some extent. Raphael doesn't know what he's trying to say either. He's just trying to negate. But regardless, I wake up some mornings and I'm mad at, for example, Rachel's brother. It wouldn't surprise me if Rachel's also mad at Rachel's brother. She has a lot more reason to be mad at him than I do.
I am.
I'm mad at him vicariously, so to speak, or on behalf of Rachel. I'm also mad at him because, like Sunnyside, Rachel's brother is somebody who has successfully avoided accountability.
Yeah.
They have avoided hearing me and responding.
Can I say it like hard facts.
No, Raphael, everybody, listen. Let me finish this line of argumentation for you, if you don't mind.
No.
Everybody has anger in them, and some people exist as expressions of anger in a larger period of time than others. Rachel, anger comes out occasionally. Me, I live with anger on a more regular basis.
Yeah.
I'm often some degree of angry about something. Although most of the time when people say I'm angry, I'm just annoyed at most, you know.
Yeah.
But people tend to see my expressiveness as indicative of strong emotions where they're not necessarily actually aren't any. But regardless, so I've been with somebody who lives in anger versus somebody who is a human being, namely has moments of anger. Okay, Raphael, listen to me. I have lived with the alternative to Rachel. Rachel is not an angry person. She's a human being who occasionally gets angry, like everybody. I'm also a human being who gets angry occasionally. Maybe I get angry more than many people, but I'm still not an angry person. Kimberly was an angry person. That is to say, she was defined by her legitimate outrage at what had happened to her. It was not a ontological burden, as it is for everybody, to some extent. Stuff that's happened to you, or victimizations, or wrongdoings that have been done to you, are a burden we each carry to some extent. I have some as well. But there's a difference between one who carries the burden of being angry about injustice that everybody carries, and a person whose nature and being are defined by their inability to trust because they're so angry. Those are angry people. Big difference.
So rather, Vicky, you're like almost hit the mark. I am lively, I am sensitive, but I'm not very emotional. Sometimes I wish I was more emotional. I can get passionate when I'm talking about something that I really love or really believe in. I will express passion. But Eric's right. I have anger towards my brother right now, and I have anger towards my dad too, and my mom.
But the most important thing to respond to here is this one. If you don't overcome your anger about stuff, then you stay angry, and being angry about stuff means you don't overcome. Okay, that's absolutely not true. First of all, it's incorrect to think that anger is something that is overcome in some sort of epiphanic sense. It doesn't work like that. You live with it. You live with it, and it grows, either more mild, or you think about it less frequently. It comes up occasionally in your head, and you're reminded of the fact that there's an equilibrium that needs to be restored, that some injustice is out there and no accountability has been had for that. And it needs, the universe strains beneath that inequity. And so there's no overcoming anger about injustice. To overcome anger about injustice would suggest that you overcome your intuitive moral revulsion to that which is wicked. And you wouldn't want to overcome that. Well, Sean O'Neill, I really appreciate what you say here, and I'm going to address it in some depth. He says, ENFJ here, so logic, not my strong suit, but have you noticed that pride reinforces anger and keeps fanning the flames over and over, or that proud people have a more fertile ground for it to take root? So what appears to be pride to a third party is linked almost one-to-one correlation with anger, to the extent that you see anger as the alternative to cooperative communication. So if I'm angry and I'm trying to communicate with you, I'm saying, look, you're not cooperating with me communicatively, and it's making me angry and being more loud and more forceful with what I'm saying because you're not working with me, you're working against me. That's how I perceive it, okay? But as far as pride goes, so the thing that made it just impossible for Kimberly and I to even get along was that what I would say is you are so fucking proud. But what I really meant was you are so fucking terrified, because what appeared to be pride is really abject terror that the other person can't be trusted with your vulnerability. That's going to come across as pride, right? If I don't trust you with my vulnerability, I will not share my vulnerabilities with you. I only share my strengths, and that's going to come across as pride. It may or may not come across as arrogance, depending on how actively you're pontificating about it, right? So the thing about that, where was I going with this? I had a point. There's a and therefore part that I haven't gotten to yet. Let me see if I can figure it out. Oh, right. Or proud people, pride and anger, right? So for me, pride, the expression "pride happens before the fall" is very true.
Yeah.
When I am sort of swaggering, I invariably have some negative outcome, some negative karma thing happen to me. But what other people might consider swaggering, I consider, good offense in terms of argumentation, maybe. So a lot of people would call me arrogant or proud, and a lot of people do. A lot of people say, "You can't admit when you're wrong, Eric." I hear that all the time. It's there. They might as well also say, "You don't eat any meat, Eric. You are 1 foot tall. You are an Asian girl, and you love shoving bananas up your ass." All of those statements are equally true. I absolutely can and do admit when I'm wrong. So when people tell me, "Eric, you can't admit when you're wrong," I know that they can't admit when they're wrong. Look, anger is neither good nor bad inherently. It's how it impacts you. I've had good results from anger, appropriate good results. It is appropriate and necessary to respond to outrageousness with outrage. If you respond to outrageousness with uncertainty or gentle admonitions, you are normalizing it. So that just goes without saying. However, being outraged does not necessarily mean you need to be angry. They do tend to go together, but they're not necessarily the same thing. The other thing is different people deal with anger differently. I can be very angry, and the big problem I have is that I sound as though I must not be making sense because I'm so emotional. But if you actually listen to my words, you'll hear that I'm saying the exact same thing I was saying before I became so emotional. So this is my problem: is anger causes me to confuse other people, because what I'm saying is right and true and just. And because I'm angry and displaying that emotion, these people are less able to understand what I'm saying. So in that regard, anger can undermine me. However, anger can also be successful in motivating me. So, for example, this live stream is motivated by anger. I am mad at Sunnyside. Why am I mad at Sunnyside? Because it's like I don't know anything. I don't know anything about this guy except for the little bit I saw today. But I will tell you this: in every instance in the past, when somebody has been desperate to avoid any accountability coming from me specifically, there's a very high chance they're a narcissist. I don't say that about this guy. I have no idea. I have no reason to conclude that. I'm just saying historically, that behavior correlates very strongly with narcissism. If it's very difficult for me to have a conversation with you, to get you to get on the phone and talk to me or sit down and talk with me, if it's extremely challenging for me to get it to happen, almost impossible, then you are almost certainly a narcissist. Because narcissists can smell me as there's the silver bullet to their vampireness. Well, righteous anger is, definitionally rational if it's righteous. But the thing is, you don't need the anger necessarily to accomplish the same thing. But for most people, it probably is motivating, as it is for me. So, I've accomplished justice today in making sure that at least publicly, though he will avoid ever watching it because at least publicly, Sunnyside's been held to account. I've called him out on his bullshit. I've explained that when you behave like that, as a human being amongst human beings, you are engaged in an ethical violation, not a moral violation, because he's not trespassing across any boundaries, but there are moral duties beyond those. I think it's fair to say that engaged in public discourse, if you're engaging in this public discourse in the marketplace of ideas, you've got some responsibility to treat other people as though their voices mattered a little bit, occasionally, sometimes. What BS did he pull? I haven't watched it. He hid me from his channel for absolutely nothing. I mean, no reason at all, except he read me as an ENTP, I guess. I was actually there trying to fit in and be friendly, like actually trying to be charming, not trying to troll or anything. And boom, he fucking hid me from the channel. And then got all smug and lectured about what people who've gotten hidden from the channel can do and how they're probably just going to get themselves hidden again because I know what kind of people they are. Yeah, well, maybe you do, but you're not representing the thing you know correctly or accurately. You know that I'm potentially I'm not a paradigm coddler, right? I'm not going to coddle your paradigm for you. Oh, let me protect your precious little worldview. No, I'm not going to do that. He could probably smell the unwillingness to coddle a person's paradigm in me and just, I better get this guy out of the way before he has a chance to say anything. Horace Mumbler says, better hit like or Eric will be very angry with you and there will be no cake. Horace Mumbler, I got some bad news. There's not going to be any cake no matter what. Yeah, I have no good excuse, but I'm blaming it on COVID.
Me too.
Okay, now I'm going to read several things that are ridiculous and silly and incredibly wrong. Ready? As I said, you have to overcome anger and pain to get peace. And if you have peace, you won't ever be angry again. And Rachel claimed to be peaceful and angry at the same time. It's very possible to be peaceful and angry at the same time. It's not possible to be peaceful and warlike at the same time, but angry and warlike are not the same thing. And additionally, once you experience peace, Raphael says, you will never be angry again. So once I experience peace, then what? I mean, everything changes and nothing makes me angry. Why is that preferable to status quo when things that should make me angry make me angry? Why is it preferable that things that should make me angry don't make me angry? Once you have peace with yourself, so am I at war with myself because I get angry periodically? Why is stoicism superior to appropriate responses to appropriate stimuli, which is the approach I take? Now, granted, if in fact anger has a net negative impact on me, then you can make the impact argument and say you're fundamentally an agent and your own interests should be prioritized in this sense, and your TI should agree with your FI here. Fine, make that argument. Except I'm saying anger doesn't really have that kind of negative impact on me because it doesn't make me say things I regret. Eric, why do you smoke weed? Because it makes you feel good. Get the fuck out of here. I mean, the thing is, that's an incredibly weak, unnuanced, meaningless almost answer to why I smoke weed. I think anyone who's enjoying their life is doing okay. I agree, Sean O'Neill. One of my main mottos here is there's nothing wrong with you. Raphael, there's nothing wrong with you either. You're incredibly negationary. Like you like to judge people about shit that is just totally particularist rather than universal. And you even judge universalism. But I want to remind you, there's nothing wrong with you. You do the things you do for reasons that are particular to your life and your stack, which is very different than mine. Why do I smoke weed? I mean, I guess I would say it's not the sort of question that is a meaningful question. It would suggest that there's a causal origin, there's an antecedent and a consequent that I could articulate, which there's not. It's a complex set of motivations, including both what I'm used to, and a reality that's contextualized. So, for example, if I were a blank slate arriving on Earth, able to speak English and everything, with no memories, 49 years old, just a baby, but fully grown like this, and with full language capacity, then obviously nobody would advocate that it would be a good idea for me to start smoking weed. But whether or not it's a good idea for me to smoke weed now is not a question that's asked in that context. So if you're talking to me about weed specifically, you need to remember that I used to have an actual drug problem. I know what it's like to have a problem with drugs or alcohol, and I know what it's like to have a sustainable relationship. So I had an unsustainable problem relationship with alcohol. And for me, then smoking pot is part of that equation, as well as something that exists independent on its own. So that's why it's difficult to answer the question, why do you smoke weed? Part of the reason is it's a deal I made myself when I quit drinking, that I would always be able to smoke as much weed as I wanted. So I've kept my end of the deal. It's a deal I made with God as well as with myself, Same argument you made with sometimes being angry or a person being an angry person, it's a lie. No, very different. Very not same at all. Not remotely the same. Choosing to smoke weed is not the same as experiencing an emotion. Not at all. Those are very different. Experiencing an emotion is different than using an intoxicant. They're not apples and apples. Waldo has a sustainable relationship with heroin and loves it. I don't doubt that there are some people who do, that that's actually a true statement for some people. Not for me. I don't like that drug. Can drugs enhance or dilute emotions, though? Well, we tend to talk about drugs as they would impact somebody who hasn't used them before, or that doesn't use them. When you use a given drug regularly, whether it's nicotine or amphetamine or marijuana, then the understanding of that drug's relationship with you is predicated on your relationship with it, not on qualities implicit to the drug. So what marijuana does to me and how it fits into my life is not going to be very revelatory about either marijuana, smoking marijuana, or lives. Thanks, baby. Wait, now you said I don't like that. I don't like it that for I don't do it. I laughed at me saying you will bring this up argument earlier. I don't think you're representing my argument correctly. I didn't say that. I don't even know what that is that you're saying. It's just a bunch of I don't know. You have to explain what you mean, but I didn't say that at all. I didn't say I don't like smoking marijuana. I didn't say it doesn't make me feel good. I said you're not understanding the question in a nuanced enough way. It's different. I can tell you one thing that it does for me is, okay, the number one thing, right, I don't do heroin. I was reading Waldo's thing. I don't like that drug. Correct. I don't do any downers. I don't really like them at all. So I'm not contradicting myself. I was reading Waldo's thing. The thing is, it may very well be the case that what Waldo is saying is true, and I wouldn't judge him at all if that's true. I've smoked heroin before when I was in my 20s, black tar heroin. Right, that explains why I don't do something. That's a different question than why I do something, Raphael. The reason I don't jump off of cliffs is because I don't like the idea of being crushed on rocks below. The reason I do often stand in the doorway when smoking a cigarette is a much more complicated answer, a much more complicated question to answer, right? Somebody earlier mentioned determinism. Your whole approach towards asking questions is assuming everything's causally determinate, and that's just not the case. Is what wrong? You said, I don't do heroin because I don't like it. That's correct. I also said, I don't argue smoking weed with liking it. No, I said your approach, your question of me, which was, do I smoke weed because I like it or because it makes me feel good or something? That question is indicative of an inadequately nuanced understanding of one's relationship with a drug that one does choose to do. My relationship with drugs that I don't choose to do is dramatically simpler, right? I don't choose to do heroin because I don't like it. It's a very easy question to answer. Why I choose to go to Smart and Final instead of Costco, much more difficult question to answer. Why I chose to go to Wilderness Park the other day with Rachel, much more difficult question to answer. Explaining why you do something is much harder and much different than explaining why you don't do something. I shouldn't have to hammer this point, but you're not indicating to me that you get it yet. Yeah, I'm not still streaming. I'm streaming again. Somebody made me mad. So for people who think anger is not useful at all, well, it may have caused me to make this live stream.
I'm happy.
Why do I smoke weed?
I feel vindicated because I was really upset. It was fucked up, the whole thing. And I feel like I'm not crazy anymore because I used to be in the minority with feeling that way towards that channel, and now you just validated my feelings towards that channel. So thank you.
I appreciate you saying that. I'm glad to do that. Look, here's the thing, Horse Mumblr. I thought I had a really great business idea. I wanted to compete with Smart and Final. But I guess my name wasn't as powerful. My name was Dumb and Transient. Nobody wanted to shop there. I don't know why. You want to go to Dumb and Transient? What do they sell there? Food and stuff, Why is it called Dumb and Transient? Oh, it's a competitor against Smart and Final. They should have called it Bright and Determinate then. You're right. They should have consulted you about the naming. Dumb and Transient. Hi, welcome to Dumb and Transient. You know what? I'm going to correct myself. I think a better choice would be witless and ephemeral. Witless and ephemeral. Why do I smoke weed? Well, I was answering the question. So, Raphael, I was already answering this question. Note, I was saying part of it is a temporal bargaining thing where I made a deal with myself about alcohol, and I've upheld my end of the bargain. Now, you might say, well, that still doesn't explain why you smoke it. Well, in that regard, it's a head change of sorts, a little bit. And it's in the same class of thing, therefore, as alcohol, in that it has some kind of head change. Except alcohol doesn't give me a head change modality that I can sustain, whereas marijuana does. Hi, welcome to Dumb and Lost. How may we confuse you? May we how confuse you? May we how you confuse? Is the video call open? You want to talk to me? Sure. I'll put a link for you to come talk to me. Pew 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 pew. Pew 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 pew. Here's the thing I've noted before about the chicken dance song. is it segues perfectly into the chorus of a Eartha Kitt song. Of course, the Eartha Kitt song goes, or the bridge in the Eartha Kitt song maybe goes, I'm taking vitamins A, B, C, D, E, F, G for lunch. Can
you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Hi, how are you?
I'm great. I just on laptop, so I don't have a good mic or something. So.
Well, don't worry about it. No stress. You're not being seen on the live stream. You're just being heard via my mic. Because
okay. Well, I don't mind either way. So. Yeah,
okay. Because I'm not using the streaming software. I'm just using the what's called the webcam streaming.
Okay. Well, I do YouTube videos too, talking sometimes like this, so I'm comfortable.
Oh, cool. Is there anything in particular you want to talk about, or any subject you'd like to broach? Any questions you'd like to ask?
Or any
yeah, sure.
I have a kind of compliment as well.
Oh, okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah. It's a real question, not one of those loaded ones, but I'd like to compliment first. You're about the SI, like, or you're about the kind of polar functions, like, made a lot of sense to me, like, to help me really, because, well, I never thought I was ENFJ or Younger Life, right? Like, I couldn't see that. I thought I'm TI, I thought I'm this, that, but I was only just trying so hard to please everybody. Like, if you've seen the good kid trope thing, I was like that. So I thought I'm really smart. Like, I just study hard, I do everything. Like, I didn't know what even is feeling, because that was like, I guess, the savior FE. So I thought, everyone is feeling what I feel like. That doesn't even occur to you.
So did you try the SI test and discover that you have that SI deficit?
So that's my question, was like my sister, and I mean, I'm not sure. I only type myself as an ENFJ and type her as an ESTP, but we were talking about the S like that, and it makes sense to me like that she's SI, because she has her memories are like a file cabinet full of feelings, like feeling this point in time I felt this way, and my memories is always just data. So when I go back to my memories, like, it's the surroundings come in, and then I'm there as like 35-year-old man now, like, so it doesn't make me feel emotion to be there in that memory, like, and every time I have these kind of aha kind of moments, then it changed the whole tapestry of the thing. Nothing changed, but going back through memories, like, I go back and I can see how people's face were, how they were, and oh, they were manipulating me. Oh, they were doing that, right? So like, I was, I've had that experience a lot. So I was going to ask you, that's kind of my question, is like, is that a thing, or am I just doing it to myself? Because like, I've always thought that way, and I don't know if it's because
Okay, well, first let me clarify for the chat. Somebody asked, what's the SI test? The SI test I use to test for polar SI is I ask a person to relate a linear sequence of small insignificant events from when they got up for a couple of hours. People who got really good SI DOMs or something will go, well, first I got up and I went into the bathroom and I realized there wasn't a roll of toilet paper. So I went out into the closets in the hallway, where we keep the toilet paper. And I got the toilet paper and I brought it back into the bathroom. And then after that, I went to the bathroom and then I brushed my teeth. It's like, Running Park says, oh, yes, that horrible question. NI people all find it eye roll inducing. Like, why do you even care? Why would you ask that? And SI polar people probably especially find it eye roll inducing. So before I ask you to clarify on your question you asked me, I want to ask you a question. I forgot your name, but I want to ask you a question, which is, are you able to do that? Are you able to articulate a series of boring, insignificant little events from your day that are specific to today? Or do you have a tendency to go, well, usually NI people like to say that?
Well, can I answer your question? Like, I think I have kind of an accurate thing, because I only have very tiny SI, but every time I have any kind of SI memory, in the moment, I had such a strong worry, like, what's going to happen to me? Oh my gosh, something terrible, like I cut my foot or it was some really terrible thing, or like I got a really bad sunburn, like so bad, or like I have very few memories where I have some sensory still there, but it was always with like a really traumatic worrying into the future. Like, oh my gosh, this has messed me up for life. Like I've lost a finger, I've lost my
okay,
foot.
okay, all right. But look, this is your answer to my question. Can you provide a sequence of insignificant events from the morning? This is how you're answering it. So, but can you do that? Have you tried to do it?
Yeah, I guess, I woke up like, actually I woke up late last night. I'm COVID schedule, right? So it's like no meeting, and woke up late last night, sit the computer, like start doing that, and then eat like the very last slice of pizza from the cardboard box, and and get some water, and just then lose no time, just being online and studying this stuff and talking to people.
Okay. Well, I would say that's indeterminate at the moment, and I don't want to do a whole testing thing. But can you clarify what your question, or like nutshell it a bit for me?
Well, my question was like, am I doing this to myself and thinking that I can do something that I cannot? Because like, I don't trust it. Like, I've always felt this way my whole life, and I don't know if it's like I'm bullshitting myself. Like, because
what is the thing you're talking about specifically, though?
I don't know if like, okay, if we have some memory, but I don't feel anything in the memory. I'm just like there, and every time I go back in my memory, I'm like how I am now, like this awareness that I have now. I'm never what I was in that memory.
Okay, so in other words, you don't retain high resolution data about your experiences, just takeaways, right?
Yeah, like I mean, there's data there, but like it's not like watching a movie or something. No.
Well, sure. I mean, you can take away to have a high resolution data kind of knowledge about something is to remember how you felt, what it smelled like, what it looked like, and or a lot of details that may not be significant to any meaning thing, but were significant to you personally for some reason, right? That's like the high resolution data. The lower the SI in the stack, and maximally low is 7th, people don't retain hardly any high resolution data. They just retain the takeaways. Well, I remember from the meeting that we decided, yeah. Well, do you remember everything that was said in the meeting? No. You just jettison, if you're NI, the stuff that's not relevant to the takeaway.
Well, I don't know if people can do this, but I have the sense that I might be able, that this is what it seems like to me. I will be doing something, and then someone will come and speak, like have entered the room and speak, and I don't notice that I've noticed them, but then I turn and I'm like, what would you say? And then I just play back the last few seconds in my head, and it's like I hear it very clearly for that small window, and then it's gone.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I see what you're saying. It's this often happens to me and Rachel, and it's not quite what you're saying, but it's similar. And it's this where she'll be talking, sitting next to me here, and my attention will be at least half on something in the chat that I'm reading that I want to respond to, and so I'm not really listening to her, but I'll pick up periodic words throughout it, and often enough, at the end of when she stops talking, I can sort of piece back or intuit together what she was talking about, including. But I don't hear it like that. Hear the last few seconds of it, really.
Yeah, like my experience, it feels like, oh crap, I didn't know someone was talking to me, and then I just like look, and then I'm like, oh, what'd you say? And as I'm saying that, I'm like trying to grab the time back, and then it plays back in my head what they said. But I also know that like deja vu is like a brain seizure thing, like, so it's like I don't know what kind of mind trick it could be on myself.
Okay, so yeah, I wouldn't call that a mind trick. I would say that everybody has a certain amount of working memory, and in fact, in my opinion, I haven't tested this out to see if it's correct, but my prediction is that SI people will not perform better in random working memory tasks than SI polar people. That they'll perform the same. In other words, if I ask you to remember and repeat back 7 numbers, that's working memory. And that SI and NI doesn't necessarily differ in that. The kind of memory that SI differs in from NI is about what kind of information it keeps track of and how it keeps track of it. Like SI is more linear, But regardless, I need to address a couple things in the chat here because there's things that people are saying that I need to address before we continue on with what we're saying. All right. So first off, David Sanderson says, is he an SE Dom? David Sanderson asks about, let me look at your name again, about Sean. He asked about Sean, is he an SE Dom? Sean identifies as a ENFJ. So this is not a live typing, and I have no opinion on the matter, but just that's what he self-identifies as, okay? Then we say, host Eric, do you think SI has any relevance to if one remembers doing things in first or third person? Good question. I never really thought about it. I don't know if people really remember doing things in third person. Maybe they do. I'm not sure. I have no answer that you should put any weight in to that question right now. And David asks again, what's his type? He self-identifies as ENFJ. And if you love what's good and true with all your heart, nothing can hurt you. That's so wise, Raphael. Is SI third high enough to have high resolution memories? Because I definitely don't. Maybe it's a lack of noticing from polar SE. Well, here's my thought about SI third and SI fourth. SI third is the best at using SI for what it's not naturally intended to be used for. In other words, INTPs, instead of keeping track of high resolution data, keep track of shitloads of linked low resolution data, just like ENTPs. I keep track mostly of the various ideational shit I encounter, argumentational stuff, and to a lesser extent, my own experiences. So in that regard, INTPs are the pinnacle of being able to remember or do on the fly and also remember complicated shit very quickly. When I was working with Spacey on singing my songs, he would learn them and memorize them at least twice as fast as I could do it. And they're my songs that I made up, okay? So, yeah.
One other thing that led me to believe that I have like SE instead of SI is because I kind of thought I had these really great memories that were so sharp. I thought I had SI, but I didn't. One more thing that made me think I have SE is that the reality is I know my memories are not that good, and then I've been in the situation where I forgot the password, but it was like something that I did like as a habit, like going into an office or work. But I really couldn't, in my head, I can't remember. I don't know the number sequence. I really don't. And I would just don't think about it, and then just, kind of okay. And if muscle memory can put in that code for me.
Okay, well, so what you're saying is consistent with backslot SI, but not necessarily 7th. So what other reasons do you have for thinking you're an ENFJ?
I think being brutally honest on the test question, and testing many times, and just testing is like extroverted feeling like that a lot.
Okay, so how do you see yourself attending by extroverted feeling? When you were paying attention like meow, you think to yourself, this is extroverted feeling. When you fill in the meow.
Well, I think I'm a highly sensitive person. If you take that meaning, I think that I am highly sensitive. I don't know if it means the same thing, like being neurodivergent or something. But I mean, I really think that I feel a lot of things. And when I was younger, I struggled with it more. My thumbs used to lock right here in the joints, and I had to have an adult pop my thumbs. I was just overwhelmed with stuff.
Okay, so what makes you? Why do you think that's extroverted feeling?
Well, I saw an explanation of kind of 4 types of empathy, leading up to it. One would be TE. It's the awareness of the day. Someone has to be out there in this weather. It's oh, that's not fun. And then TI, be oh, I don't want to be that guy. And then going further, if it's TE connected to FI, in the top stacks, then it's I can imagine myself in that guy's situation, and then I can really start to sympathize. And then the one that's the mirror neuron one that's presented to me in some video, I don't know if it's credible, but saying FE and then TI in your top stacks, then that's like the mirror neuron. So that's my understanding. That's why I'm thinking like that. Because my stepfather like drive a concrete truck when I was like 8, 9 years old, and he comes home and I would get migraines. And he's not yelling at me. He's not being a bad guy or anything, but he has a bad headache too. And I just would, I would just suffer the headache with him at the same time. And really, I don't like him so much. I don't hate him or not or anything, but like at that point, like
okay. So
protect mom, so I don't have any reason to like him. So I don't want to sympathize with him or his headache. And I like didn't even know what's going on, but I know I'm like having migraine because of him, and I didn't know what's going on until later on.
Let me ask you a question. Have you ever have you ever struggled with deciding whether to stay or go in a relationship, either a friendship or a romantic relationship?
Well, I married my first girlfriend, and I was really religious. I'm Christian still, and but anyway, we divorced. But before that, I had gone to 5 different psychiatrists with her, and I don't know the terms at that time, but she really was the narcissist, and they all were telling me, get away from her, get away from her. So I'm like, why? I fasted days.
Let me ask for a little clarification. Can you just walk me through in your head, what are your pros and cons you're going back and forth in your head about whether to stay or go?
Oh, I just didn't know why I was there. Like, I need someone else to point out to me, like my sisters pointed out to me like before, like, look, you're doing the same thing that you did before in this other relationship. And I'm like, I didn't see it. Like somehow just in the moment, and when things change and become that, I'm not even aware that I'm in that. I'm doing the same mistake again.
Okay, but did you have a period of time in that relationship where you were finding yourself doing the following thing? You know what? I gotta leave this. I cannot put up with this anymore. But on the other hand, if I do this, I'll lose this, or this bad thing will happen. Can you tell me you didn't do that?
What I did was I didn't know why I was still there because I was afraid of my own house. Like she's beating me and setting my clothes fire, do crazy shit. And then I'm like, I just didn't eat for 3 days, and I just really turned in because it's like kind of my fasting doesn't suffer. It's just like really removing all the distraction of the physical world because I really needed to soul search and deep dive myself. After 3 days, I got my answer, and my answer to me was that it's vanity. That's why I'm staying with her. And then once I see that, that's it. And then I just left, and I left her, and that's it. There was no deliberating, like
vanity. So, can you explain how staying with her served vanity?
Because my mom's like married and divorced like 6 times. I didn't want to be divorcee. Like I'm from Appalachia. Like I joined the Navy when I was 17. Like I was literally shitting in an outhouse in 2002. And like people. That's America, but it's kind of like third world country in some places.
Boy, did you marry yourself a crazy ass bitch.
Well, I went to Japan, so like it's really kind of like first girl that was ever nice to me. I didn't know, like, I was just too young. So.
Okay. During your own self-analysis of your relationship, did you address with yourself a lot how you felt about her?
Oh yeah, I thought she was the greatest. Everyone was like, yeah, give her 6 months because I was in the Navy, right? I was like, this is why it's called wife. She's my world, my life, my wife, like that. I was just super duper happy. We were together like 2 years with no abuse, nothing. And then circumstance changed when I finished the Navy, and then I entered college. But we're okay, but there's this thing in Japan. There's a generation of Japan where they saw their parents do the try hard thing, and then they didn't get the reward of the lifetime employment. They got fucked over. So this new generation is kind of more lazy, and she's not getting the respect from this new class of students. Like it's like that concretely divided. She's teaching as a professor, and then I'm a student, and she's a professor, and these students are not giving her the respect. Everything changed, and she's very frustrated with her work. It's very different in Japan. Like if a student's doing poor, then it's like it's on the teacher, it's on everybody in the whole organization. Like everyone's sharing blame, right? So she's really about it.
That's not a good way to get good outcomes, right? Stop sharing blame and put it where it belongs. For Christ's sake, if it's on you, you take the blame because it's your fucking fault. If it's on them, make them take the blame because it's their fucking fault. It's almost never everybody's fault.
I mean, it was definitely like both of our faults, but it was like as far as like getting tough stuff, I could never do that. Like I could never like be tough or rough, you know. Like I could be like a little bit upset or maybe a lot upset, but I don't yell and I don't put hands on someone. And even when they're hitting me, I couldn't like grab it, you know. So I'm just like,
I never put hands on anybody either. But I'll tell you this.
Well, I did it.
I let my first wife deck me because I totally deserved it for the shit I was saying at that moment. And I didn't hit her back, but I indicated to her afterwards, said, listen, you ever hit me again or without adequate justification, I will lay you the fuck out. I made it in no uncertain terms about that. It's like, I'm not going to put up with that shit. You know?
It's just confusing. Like the first time she ever told me that she wanted a divorce, right? Like I just like snapped, broke in my heart, and I took a walk for 3 days. I'm just walking. Like no drugs, nothing, just walking and just like really sad. And then I came home and then I told her and I was talking to her and then she just started crying and hugging me. She was like, when did you learn to speak Japanese? I didn't even realize I was speaking Japanese to her like when I was talking to her because I was just like, you know, pouring my heart out kind of a thing. And I'd been only in Japan like walking around. So I had no use for English for like 3 days.
Like, had you practiced angry Japanese, man? Because there's a certain trick to it. You know, it's like that.
Yeah.
If you had used that, you probably would have come right around.
Like a Japanese guy. Like I probably sound like a Japanese girl or just like myself, like some mix of that. Like
no, you don't sound like a Japanese girl. Japanese girls sound like this.
Well, the Japanese guys, they do really over-exaggerated like hissing and sucking air through the teeth, and I'm not a fan. And they like to be like kind of showy and wordy. Like so it is girly for me, like even to be like Japanese guys. They do this like elaborate silly stuff that they do.
So
oh man. I don't like the sound at all. Like, yeah, they do that like
Zakashimasu. The thing is, the only thing I know about Japanese is from watching Naruto in the sub one, not the dub one, you know. So I always love the sound of it. It sounds so much better than when it's dubbed to English. When like the old lady goes, you know, like she's talking to Naruto, right? And she goes, Uzumaki Naruto. It's so much more powerful than Naruto Uzumaki. You know, it's like, no, get your freaking dubs off of this cartoon right now.
Yeah.
I don't like dub. I never did, even as a kid. Like there was this really old school 80s style anime cartoon on Nickelodeon in the early 90s, and it was like that. It was like fairy tales, but like with like anime, and it was dubbed. It drove me crazy.
American dubs on cartoons are bad usually, you know. Subs are way better. It's weird to see like in Avatar: The Last Airbender, that's an American anime cartoon that is entirely sourced from Japanese stuff or Chinese stuff, both, you know, willy-nilly. It's kind of like Asian mishmash by non-Asian Americans.
Yeah.
So it's like those voices don't bug me, but they still have that same kind of kids show American quality that I don't like in dubs on cartoons.
Oh. So
okay, what I've heard from you so far is certainly an awareness of feelings that's fairly active, but my jury's out on not doubting you. I'm just saying, if I were to take you as a blank slate, my jury would be out on FI/FE matters at the moment. So I don't know, but I'm not good at identifying FI directly. I don't smell it. It's like my nose is deaf to the smell of FI or something.
Yeah, well, I kind of identify like with the things that, like there was videos like shit NFJ say, and they're playing that, and I'm like, oh my god, it sounds like me when I was younger, like, you know, these kind of stuff. Like when I thought I was smart, when I thought I didn't think I'm like, you know, I thought I'm a thinker. I spent a lot of time like thinking, you know. But I didn't, you know. It's still funny to me how the cognitive functions are named because it's like a lot of thinking, but one's called thinking, but it's not really. It's
Right.
Like they're all kind of right.
Let me answer Evelyn's question here. Evelyn says, "Did you do TI test yet?" Well, no, but he's claiming to be ENFJ, so fourth slot TI. It's not going to be especially revelatory no matter what he does on it. So it's like there's not really any. I'm not going to be. I might be able to tell polar from fourth, but it's not going to be that definitive given that he's coming in. I mean, fourth slot can be. Okay, let's try it. Okay, let me ask you a quick question or two. Okay, do you mind?
I don't mind, but it's definitely gonna be embarrassing if you do the family tree one because I've tried every time you're doing these ones, and like it's so fast for me. Like even if it's something simple, even if I can see after that you go like up the ladder, down the ladder exactly. You're like your mom's blah blah blah, and then the answer's like your mom's still like, but I can't keep up.
Okay, I won't ask you one of those. Let me ask you a different kind. Okay. So I'm gonna give you two pieces of the thing, and you're going to provide the missing generalization. So if I were to say, Joe can't come in here, he's not a poet. The missing generalization is only poets are allowed in here.
For poets, yeah.
Only poets. So the answer is always going to begin with only, all, or no. Okay? Another example.
Okay, so that's the generalization. Okay, yeah.
Another example. You can't go in there. That's the girls' bathroom. The missing generalization would be no yous are allowed in the girls' bathroom, presumably no boys, right? So those are a couple of examples. So now I'm going to give you the two pieces, and you provide the missing generalization, remembering that it begins with all, only, or no. Okay, so here's the two pieces. She must hate peanut butter. She's from Spain.
I didn't hear the last phrase, actually.
She's from Spain. She must hate peanut butter. She's from Spain.
No Spaniards like peanut butter.
Okay, that works. Let me try another one. She can't be from Iceland. She doesn't have a fur hat.
All Icelanders wear fur hats.
Okay, good. Let me ask one more kind of TI question that's not genealogy, which is if all badgers like Parcheesi, and some people who like some things that like Parcheesi also like burrowing holes, can we conclude that some badgers must like burrowing holes?
No.
Okay. So you're not polar TI. It's not seventh. The fact that you don't do well in the genealogy, if I were to test out your TI substantially on non-genealogy questions, it might be revelatory even of potentially third slot TI. The thing is, NI users do less well on the genealogy TI questions than on other kinds of TI questions. People who rely more on NI do better on deductive reasoning problems than on genealogy questions.
It really spoke to me, like the things that I was looking for to try to hit me were like the things that would hurt. Like the ENFJ, like I said, the example, like the things they would say, you know, people making fun of them. And like, I'm like, oh, that cut, because that's really literally some of the words they say. And also the one about the TI demon. And then also your explanation about like somehow like I've had that title with where I'm I had these reasons that like are my explanation about life, but I wasn't aware that it's my explanation. I just thought it's like this is life. And then that reality crashed. Like my first or second day like in going into basic training boot camp. I mean, and this like kind of Jelly Navy, you know, it's not like Full Metal Jacket stuff, like there's nothing to cry about. But I was bawling, crying, like broken because I had this idea of what is like the average human being and what is like the average amount of, let's say, kind of like evil, you know, that people are capable of, or like malintent and just like wickedness that they can possess. And I was so wrong and so didn't understand how people could be vicious and terrible and cruel, and I had no idea, you know. Like I know my family that's sick, that's doing something.
Okay, so here, let me say this. When you're in the Navy, I know that in the military they don't necessarily respect if you go, actually I could really use a couple more hours of sleep. Did that bother you?
No, I never needed sleep. Like I sleep 30 hours a week or so. Like I just crash.
All right. All right. That definitely sounds like SI polar. The thing you're complaining about, though, is interesting because the thing you're complaining about in the military seems like an FI concern, really, more than an FE concern. But the way you describe your relationship with the SI matters in the military sounds very much like SI polar. Any SI user would complain about the lack of adequate SI attention that you're allowed to engage in the military. Chris M says, I was in the military for 10 years and I loathed waking up so early.
Well, to me,
it would drive me crazy. I would be tired all the time. I'd be grumpy all the time. I'd be like, I cannot live like this.
It's just to me, like even growing up, like I remember being like 4 years old and my great aunt and my great uncle were doing this thing where like, oh, you have a girlfriend, and like saying it this way and like trying to shame me, trying to make me squirm. And they just both kept kind of repeating it, and they had this like really wicked smile and stuff. And I wasn't embarrassed or ashamed, anything. I just felt so bad that I could see what they were doing. Like they were trying to, cause me discomfort. It wasn't because it was at me. It was because that these people are that way that they would do that. Like I didn't even see it as like at me. And like just various things throughout school. Like there was this girl that's like, the really, when they want to mess with you and tease you in 5th grade, they say like, have you had your, her name today, right? Like the proper name. Like they're just like, she is the least popular person. But some guy was messing with her, like picking on her, and like he's bigger than me. I just, without thinking, go in and fight the guy and break his nose. Like it's just like I really care, like people's hurting other people, and I think that's the thing that always made me cry.
That does sound like possibly consistent with third slot SE. It sounds like you value the fact that the action made a real difference. Let me ask a question that but something you said, I want to remember what I wanted to ask clarification on. This is what I want to say. So I've posited in the past that ENFJs, when they're young, have a problem with lying. And they're not exactly really lying at first. They don't quite get that they're lying because other people are telling detailed stories about experiences that they don't remember that kind of detail. And they just sort of think the other people must be making it up too. And then a second thing I want to mention here about this is I knew an ENFJ guy named, what the fuck is that guy's name? I forget his name off the top of my head at the moment. But anyway, he was a car salesman for a while. And he told me a story about how he approached selling cars. If somebody drove in and they had a sticker on their car with dogs on it, he told a story about how he had 4 dogs at home and blah, 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 blah. Of course, the dogs had died a long time ago. He didn't mention that part, right? He presented it at present tense, like, oh, I've got 4 dogs at home, blah, 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 blah. And he didn't see particularly that whether or not it was true in the present or true in the past, as it still had the same kind of truth as a story, so it didn't really matter. Now, do you identify with that stuff at all? Or do you find that you didn't experience that at all?
I'm trying to identify with that, and I kind of do as a codependent, because I would be like kind of in denial of my gullibility, because like when people started telling me like fantastic story as a real thing, it's not pretend, but they're just going, and I'm making myself believe it and just like feeding off of that and like hearing fantastic story, right? So people love to come and tell me a story when we were in school, because I would just believe anything, because if someone was coming and like talking to me and enjoying my reaction to their story or something like that,
How do you react when people lie to you and you catch them? You feel sorry for them, or you're mad about it?
Well, I didn't know they were lying at first. Like this, like even happened to me in middle school. Like I was like 7th grade, and some guy told me like he found a bunch of platinum with his father, and I just didn't know anything about what is platinum or what is this stuff.
But when you discover that they were lying, do you feel sad for them or angry?
No, I felt sad that I lost the story, because the story was so cool. Like I wasn't even mad at them or anything. It was like, I don't like to be lied to, and I don't want to be seen as gullible. So I would worry about like, maybe someone going to target me again with this kind of thing, but it goes away. People forget everything. So
Okay, I want to interject for a second and address something in the chat here. Evelyn says, I'm an SI user, but in general, I don't mind discomfort. I can go without eating or sleeping, etc. I probably won't choose a career that forces me to do that now, but in my 20s, I did. I would posit, Evelyn, that you're right. You can handle what other people consider SI discomfort as long as it's according to your own agenda. If some external source of structure or discipline is requiring of you SI sacrifices, you'll probably have a much different perspective on it.
I can relate to something like this. Like if I'm doing like what I think is FESE activity and someone pressure me, I'm okay. If I'm doing what I think is like an NI activity and someone pressure me, I'm okay. But if I'm mixing the two and someone pressure me, like I disaster, like absolute disaster.
Can you give me an example?
When even if I'm just doing dishes or something like this, and then someone asks me something, but it's not small talk. They ask me like how, like they're asking me like to use like kind of logic. You know what I'm saying? If someone's asking me to do logic, I can't be washing dishes or even eating. I'll bite my lip or something. Like I really feel like I'm very uncoordinated if I'm thinking about. I thought when I'm doing that, I had this like aha moment. I'm like, oh, maybe that's why custom is you don't talk business at eating dinner, right? Because for me, like if I'm thinking of mechanical things or like kind of different things while I'm eating, I will bite my. Even now, like I can't do it. I just know, like okay, don't think that stuff. Like I can listen to music, I can chill, they listen to my family, laugh. But if I think technical things, it's not a good idea. Like,
okay, I get you. So it is interesting because I do think that where people can multitask depends on cognitive function stack. So I can multitask SE and NE pretty well, but not completely. And if I'm NEing too much, then I'll miss my freeway exit and stuff like that. But I want to address Zaylin Black's question here. She says, Eric, is this appropriate? When I was considering my FIFE, it occurred to me that I view others as an extension of myself. I behave as I would like others to behave towards me. So in my perception, the golden rule, which is what that is FE, and the platinum rule is FI. The platinum rule is treat others as they want to be treated. That's FI. FE is treat others as you want to be treated. And the reason that's FE is because it assumes reciprocity. It assumes that you're being a team player, then they'll be a team player. Whereas FI says, really treating people well requires you to know what those people want. Of course, only half the population really knows what they want. I don't know what I want at all. You probably, if you're an ENFJ, you ignore what you want. Sorry to interrupt you. Continue.
I have the same platinum rule, but I never heard it called platinum rule. Like this happened to me when I was like 19. I had this realization, like you're just being an asshole. Like people don't want the real honest truth. They don't want to be corrected. Like I was from Appalachia, and I didn't want to speak like a hick anymore, you know. And so that's why I studied a lot and asked people to correct me, and I would even correct myself a lot. Like I'd do something like double negative, and then I'd say it correctly and say rather, like in the sentence, and got comfortable correcting myself, or even there's no mentor there. But it was only when I'm 19 when I'm like, no, I shouldn't treat people the way I want them to treat me. I should treat people the way they want to be treated because I want them to treat me the way I want to be treated. So, like, we should figure each other out.
But here's the interesting thing is you started with that concept of the golden rule, and then you came back to it at the end. In between, you described what I would call an FE growth process more than anything else, namely that you realized, number one, you didn't want to be perceived as less than you were because of how you spoke and adjusted accordingly. And number two, that people didn't like to be corrected. So both of those are FE considerations, really, not FI. So I would say that those answers are more consistent indeed with FE than FI. And so far, I've not heard anything from you that's inconsistent with your self-typing as ENFJ. So, I would say in general, I default to the people get it right.
I appreciate it. So I just kind of shut up and enjoy that you're doing this typing thing for me. Like I appreciate your time doing that. So
no problem.
I didn't scam to come for that, but it's might as well. Like, I just like, oh, I was excited that you wanted to ask me the question.
Well, the other thing is this: FE people and FI ignoring people understand that there's reciprocity implicit in this. That if you ask Eric, hey, you want to talk on video, that he might actually want that, and he might be totally down to do it. So if you're FE high enough up, that's some sort of sophisticated FE, knowing that one way to get, like I read Ben Franklin's recommendation, that to get an enemy to become your friend, ask them to do a favor for you. So it's like that's FE trickiness, right? Mm-hmm. Third slot FE, where my FE is, I tend to never ask people to do favors for me because I want to always sort of err on the side of that if I need them or something, that I've been there for them enough times so that it's a kind of a TI approach to FI, I guess. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so the thing is, if people just ask, a lot of times, lots of things are possible and aren't a problem at all in life. But you got to have a certain amount of FE implicit comfort to be able to go, or FI dominance if possible too. You just go, hey, what do you think about this? Do you want to do this or something? Because
my sister is because she's like, I really feel she's coming from a different way. Like she's so smart to look at someone, look at their gesture, look at their something, and she can say like how they're feeling. Like I'm just getting the easy one. Like I can just feel it, And sometimes even I don't know what they're thinking. Like, I mean, we can't hear the thought, right? But like she can even understand their emotional state better. Like I might just feel the emotion. Does that make sense? Like, she's like, he's smart to me, I think.
Who is this she you're talking about?
This is my sister.
Oh, okay.
Like,
and what type do you think she is?
We think she is
It doesn't matter. UMad Bro asked a question here. I think it's directed at you through me. I'm not sure. He says, UMad Bro says, I want to know why do I know what I want and how to get it. But my question is, why do people hate me for that? They always say, you can't do that. Go with the flow. You're throwing out the vibe. You're not being a team player. Or something like that.
Well, she's ESTJ, but for that one, like, it hurts, man. Like that one, because I couldn't believe them. Like when people told me something and there was like a no conviction, like I was already like hearing the adults BS mode. Like I could detect that when I'm like 6 years old. So we're making like paper mache dinosaur, right? I want to make a T-Rex. Everybody want to make T-Rex. Like you can't make T-Rex, it doesn't work. I'm like, it's gonna work, And I make it, and I just take the newspaper and make the tail, which was supposed to make it balance anyway. Like that's the tail's for balance. It right out of the book. Like it's not anything. And I make it, and I have the T-Rex. But I thought when I showed them how that it could be done, that then everyone can do it, because all the guys want to make T-Rex. They all want to make two-legged dinosaur, not four-legged plant eater one. And they didn't do that. But there was still all the paper mache and all the stuff, and they could do it, but they wouldn't let them do it. So they just made me be the only one. They made me be by myself. And then when the parents came, and my parents didn't come, but every time parents came and they come in and see the dinosaur, everyone think their kid made the dinosaur. But then it's like just triple feel bad, because I'm like, oh, they're excited, but then their kid didn't, and their kids feel bad, and I just like felt like all the 1,000 arrows, man. I'm like, they just leave me to fail. Like that's how public schools do me many times, like set me up for failure. They do the like, oh, we're teaching math. I'm like, you taught this yesterday, because I didn't understand it's different. It's slightly different, so it's same for me. They're like, well, if you think you could do it on your own, you go back to your sit and shame me. I'm like, okay, so I really would just go away and then do it all myself. I didn't understand until later that was supposed to make me shut up and stay in a circle.
All right, but did you understand early enough that there was an attempt to shame going on, even if you didn't understand what it was purposed for?
I understand this stuff, man. Like this really, there was a guy, like I was in third grade, and this girl is harassing the kid, kind of like this sensitive guy named Jeff, and like anyway, he raised his hand, right? and he's like, she's staring at me and like kind of making him uncomfortable. And this woman, Miss Crump, she said, "Everybody stare at Jeff." Like she just yelled, went crazy, and like this kid's sensitive, like that, you know. And then I couldn't stare at him. Like I was like, I just wanted to die, like because he's just being stared at, and he just cried and melted in his desk because everyone stared at him, being encouraged by her to like jeer at him, and I'm just like, I can't, you know, I couldn't even. Like it was horrible.
Oh, well, I mean, it's hard for me to tell whether that's it's like it seems to me because you mentioned a couple such things that to the extent that you have memory narratives like that from your childhood, that they link strongly to some sort of instances of injustice or something like that, right?
Well, like when I go back, I can feel Jeff's feeling coming into me, you know, like I can feel like kind of remember that. Like it's weird. Like when I go back my memory, I'm just like watching, you know, but like kind of if there's somebody there that's going through the torture or something, like their emotions is flashing. That's hitting me, you know. Like if this is real and I'm not crazy and I'm here on this thing, like I'm getting that sensation or something, like kind of just from the memory. So.
Well, look, I mean, I think I've heard a lot of NFJs and even SFJs say that they can either tell what other people are feeling or feel what they're feeling. NFJs, I think, are the most likely to say they can tell specifically about honesty.
That's tricky, man, because like I know if someone is on a stimulant drug, that the thing that makes them sound like liar is gone. Like anyone on stimulant drug, like if whatever would make them sound like liar, like normally for me, is gone. Like they can sound so sincere because if they are focused, so if it's stimulant drug or if they're very talented to focus their mind on like one subject, kind of like they make themselves believe it, you know, then you'll believe them. And I will believe them, really believe them. Like I'll be like, oh no, you know, because I used to, but now I know I can't trust that sentence. I still have it, but
see, I mean, I think that you're talking about more about people's tendency to lie to themselves when there's powerful interests. The thing is, I know that no matter how thwacked out I am, I can't lie very well at all. I mean, it's easy to tell when I'm lying right away. Like, I'm a terrible poker player. People can always tell where our cards are. If we were sitting across the table from each other, we'd probably be better at online poker. You know?
Yeah.
The funny thing, poker, like I was good, but I didn't know the game. I think, like I didn't know the game when I played poker. I could tell who is the best player at the table, not because I know how to play the game, but because I can feel what each player feels about every other player. So I'm using the other players to read this player.
At that point, you're definitely talking about FE because you're not talking about. You're talking about that next stage of FE where you don't just understand how this person's feeling, but how this person's feelings are impacting this other third party's feelings.
Yeah. So basically find out who's the strong players. And when it's the other guy, like if I can't read him, I don't trust my skill at the game. I trust the strong player's skill at the game. So I get what is their read on the guy. And then that gives me the idea, like if they're strong or if they're weak, if they're bluffed or not, right? Like, cause I don't know, like I didn't train. Like I was just good to like, I could win. But I didn't enjoy poker because even those guys can have that money like for recreation or whatever, like they still can get a really hurting like when they lose, you know, and it really can feel like a sick, and it's not that easy to play poker and also push their feelings out because I try to bring the feelings in to play the poker, right? So it's very difficult for me, so I did enjoy it.
I gotta say, this is really interesting hearing you talk about poker from that perspective because this is how bad of a poker player I am. I basically don't read the other people at all. I just play my cards and I try to play tight and wait for good hands. And instead of trying to determine whether or not the other person is honest, I just try to determine whether my hand's probably the best or not. You know, like mathematically, like, well, given the cards that were out there,
everybody's limp. Like there's no energy, there's nothing. Everybody looked and there's nothing, and I'll take those blinds every time. Like,
smart.
I know I'm gonna take it because no one have any energy like at all. Like it's only small money, right? Like it's just a small blind.
But yeah, it's smart. The thing is, I realized after playing poker for a while, and I started playing online, I think, where I did better. But I realized poker is not an NTP's game. It is not a game that ENTPs and INTPs are going to be. INTPs be better at it, but ENTPs especially are not going to be very good at it, simply because I think, as a general rule, ENTPs have a native expressiveness about them that reveals their internal state.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just sort of cognitive function stack wise at a bit of a deficit in that game. There are other games that are more suited for ENTPs, like debate.
Yeah. Another thing is I couldn't be generating any of my own emotion. Like whenever I would win, sometimes like when I first started, like I don't play, but when I played, if I won, if it meant too much to me, if I felt too much excitement, I know I'm too filled with this like vibration, so I just can't play anymore. Like I would not play like that. Like it's like I can't play. I need this to be clean slate. Like I'm calm inside, I'm not feeling, and then it's really, calm and I'm open. But like after I win big hand, I can't play anymore. I have to leave. So because I'm tripped up.
That sounds like ignoring FI. It's like you're comfortable when you can continue ignoring your FI as usual. What shows how much more powerful fifth slot is than seventh, right?
I can't play.
I can't control my emotions at all. Basically, I don't even try. I don't even think about that.
No, I'm not control. Just if it's there, I leave the table. Like that's what I mean. Like I just know I'm in danger if I'm trying to play and I have a rush after I win.
But that's controlling your emotions, making a rational decision in an emotional state.
I'm running away.
That's a rational decision because you determined that since you're emotional, you can no longer trust your dominant function because you're stuck in your ignoring function.
That's fine. I'll take that, man.
Yeah. So interesting, really interesting. I typically play poker as a what I call a firefighter, which is like most people have a firefighter where a very gentle one would be a woman has an awful day and says, I'm going to eat this whole pint of ice cream myself. That's a firefighter. Like I'm going to indulge myself, self-soothe, generally treat myself in some way. Some people's firefighters are drugs and alcohol. Some people's firefighters are sex or some sort of indulgent thing that they like a lot. Could even be like chopping wood out back or something, But my firefighter is poker. I know I'm going to lose. I go in with $100 to lose $100, at the poker place. I go, but I'm usually mad about something. So it's like, fuck it.
I tried to become hedonist or something, but it didn't stick, Like I was so broken, and I'm like, okay, fine. And then I just seeing people as they can't understand me. They're all assholes. Like, okay, fine, I'll make you happy. Okay, whatever. And then, but I didn't enjoy it, man.
Well, yeah, hedonism is basically misusing what should be a indulgence thing, like a way of self-soothing, self-treating and stuff, and turning it into a way of living.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's not a high character thing for me. I just, a week, whatever. But I tried to just be okay, I'll just, like this, but I can't do it.
Horseman makes an observation here. Horseman makes an observation here. Some people's firefighters are firefighters, especially people who are currently on fire. Their firefighter is really going to be either a firefighter or possibly water or dirt. Okay, I'm afraid I'm going to need to wrap this up soon because
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. It's been a pleasure chatting with you. Really interesting hearing your perspective. I'm thoroughly convinced you're ENFJ after talking to you for a while. I think you type yourself correctly.
I spent time in Japan and I'm more polite than the typical American culture, right? That wouldn't mess you up. Because I have some kind of reverse culture shock since I came back since October last year. That's when I came back to America. And when I was working, I was working the malls and stuff. People would be like, "Oh, that's why you're polite, because you're in Japan." Say that. So.
Were you the tallest person around you?
I was big in Japan.
Well, I spent some time. I lived in Shanghai for a few months, and
I'm almost 6'1".
I'm 6'4", and
Oh wow.
it's like when I was at the train station, it's like throngs of people in there, and everyone's having trouble seeing what line they're going to. I just look right. Oh, this is the line right there. I see over everybody. Everyone's so much shorter than me. It was funny.
Oh, it was really funny last one. But there's this really popular down like purple jacket that many girls wear. It's very, very popular. Like so many wear the same.
What kind of mini girls? I see MANY. Okay, go ahead.
Many's wearing this, and I thought it's my wife, and I just put my hand in there, but because I'm with my wife on the train, but it's very crowded. And then this our stop. Okay, I'm coming, and I hook my arm. I'm walking 2 minutes. Then I see my wife coming, and she look at me like, huh? And I was like, what? And I look, and this girl is next to me like, and I was like, what was she doing? She just let me like guiding her, walking her somewhere. Like I didn't. It was crazy.
She probably didn't notice either. She was probably just like, well, I guess I'm going somewhere.
So, that's the FE guy, like, but sometimes, you're oblivious too, like, I don't know. I was happy because I thought I'm with my wife, but like, I couldn't feel anything. I was going.
Well, good luck with your second wife that's coming up. And let me tell you, next time, don't get somebody who's quite so crazy. That's my advice.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for being here, everybody. Thanks for talking with me, Sean, and talk to you all later. Goodbye.